Okay, so we have a beautiful Lisa Finch here. Hi, darling. How are you?
Good, thanks. How are you?
Good. Thank you for joining us today. So Lisa has got here that she wants to work on fears and blocks around success, business and money, which, yes, you are right. They are all connected. So let's just get started. Now, I'm going to ask you what scenarios have come up for you to notice this was here?
That's a great question. I know I have, I think the money blocks has come up the most, and I have been working really hard and I have seen changes in that already.
Great.
I'm currently studying to be a health coach, so I am, I guess, preempting things that will come up as I have to put myself out there into the world.
Yeah.
And my partner is a personal trainer, so I've also seen his journey from, putting himself out there, and I guess the fears that have come up for him. And I know there's some very, very similar fears within me. So,
Isn't that great? So that actually then just shows again how the universe works, is that it just brings people, like it brings energies into alignment with each other. So you will find, and this is something that you can look into and everyone can look into if their partner triggers them, is that usually it's because there's something in you that you don't like about yourself that they've actually shown you about them. So it's always good when they trigger you that you can then look back within and see exactly what it's saying about you. So around this, let's just say that that you're probably not or haven't really made as much money as you'd like to make.
Yeah.
Is that the kind of thing? So do you feel like you have much control over how much money you make?
I've been employed full-time beforehand, so it's always been a set amount.
Mm-hmm.
And transitioning from that to an inconsistent income, I guess that's probably something that's coming up.
Yeah. So the thing that's coming up now is tell me a little bit about quickly about your upbringing around money, like your parents.
There was definitely a lack mindset. My dad lost his business when I was a teenager. We lost our house because of that.
Yeah.
I had to move to a rental, so there was a lot of stress, nearly separation, but didn't. Around, and it was all around money. So.
Yeah. Okay. So can I just tell you, you've literally gone straight to the because what's happening, and especially when you have said that pretty much going from a job where you're employed to then working self-employed, you actually have a belief that means inconsistent income.
Yeah.
That's okay. But where that's come from is then what's happened with your parents and with your dad, with his business, and then what happened afterwards. So that's really kind of etched itself on your soul. And it's kind of there. Now, if you're moving into running your own business and things like that, that kind of needs to go. So I'm going to explain big picture about what happened. Because what you've done as a child, and you've seen that, is you've created a perception about what that means about you. So you've then created a belief that when you have your own business that you will then lose everything. It's okay because that's what you experienced. But that then becomes, of course, if that's what you think and you've experienced it, that will be your reality. And of course, that's why we're talking, because you don't want that.
Yeah.
But let's turn it around into the big picture. And I'm going to explain something to you which will help you to let this go. So I'm going to share with you that the experience that your parents went through around the business and around, losing, everything and so forth was part of their life journey. And there was a lesson that they learnt about about themselves during that. So if I can just say from a soul point of view, there was something that they were meant to learn about themselves, and him losing the business was the vehicle to doing that.
Yeah.
So what do you, if you can look back, is there something that you noticed that changed within your dad around this happening? Or your parents?
He probably improved his paying, like, finances and paying his bills on time and things like that. So
okay, cool.
Although it still took a while to learn after that.
I was about to say, he's a male. I shouldn't say that. They're not really good at learning. Like I've got a little boy, and he just like keeps repeating the same thing. It's just like, aren't you learning from this? So he did improve, his capacity to work with finances, which is really good. What else do you think that he learned from that experience?
I don't know. I know what he think he should have learned, but whether he actually
again, he's male. So what could he have learned then?
Probably to listen to my mum more.
Yep. So maybe to know that he's got support.
Yeah.
Rather than taking it all on himself. Yeah. One more thing that he could have learned then. And you don't need to think about it. It'll just pop into your head.
Yeah. What's one thing he could have learned?
Did his priorities change? Or could they have changed?
They probably could have changed, yeah.
Usually around money. Again, if we look at money as the vehicle to learning something, usually it's the same old story. When you're on your deathbed, you don't think about how much money you've got. It's usually about relationships. And so again, when people lose everything, they then realize, I've got my health, I've got my family, I've got, as you said, the family, nearly separated, but it didn't.
Yeah.
And so he must have learned something in that for them to still be, or to have stayed together. And that would have come from the innate reality of priority. Otherwise, he would have just thrown it all away and tried to focus on trying to make the business work.
Yeah.
But he didn't. So even though maybe as a child you didn't realise that he'd picked up and learnt some level of priority around the stuff that happened to him, he actually did. Now for you, what does that mean about you is that you've seen that as a child, but you haven't seen it from an adult point of view.
Yeah.
And so what happened as a child, seeing that happen, it always comes back to, what does that mean about me? So if when you were younger and you saw all that happening, what did that then mean about you as a child and experiencing that?
I don't know.
How did you feel about yourself and going through all of that?
Probably just that we weren't good enough to be stable or financially secure.
Yeah. Now the thing is, like when you say, like, financially secure, the thing is the word financially kind of slips away and the word security comes up.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you think you might still be carrying a little bit of that stuff with you as well around security? Yeah. And that has come up quite strongly, that they're not good enough. So a lot of words drift away and then the main ones stay. And what happens is they form beliefs. So as a child seeing that, you've then formed the belief. Now it's subconscious. So and you've said it, so I'm not making this up, but the subconscious has picked up that you're not good enough and that your security is in jeopardy around not having money. What happens, again, that whole philosophy, what you resist persists. So you're like, I'm not going to do that. The thing is, because you're saying I'm not going to do that, it actually keeps it real, and then you just continue it on. which is okay, because as long as we know that, that's where we need to choose a different route around how to deal with these things. So what I'm going to get you to do now, that's what you've formed as a belief pattern from a perception as being a child and seeing that happening. Now you've seen as an adult what your dad actually learned, that he improved his finances, that he should have, maybe listened to your mum more, and that he had actually support from her, and that he did end up changing his priorities, otherwise they would have broken up. So he did learn some things, and from your adult brain, you're like, yeah, I can see how that helped him to change a little bit. But we need to then go back to your child brain, which is still running the show, and say, what do you think you could have learned from seeing that happen?
To prioritize finances and not ignore them.
Yeah. Do you tend to ignore them?
We've just I've just started to. I've always done okay, but definitely could be better. Yeah.
Great. Okay, so you know that is just something that you need to do. But I need to go back to that. I'll go back to that one because there's something around that. Keep going. What other things that could you have learned from that?
To communicate and work as a team and in a relationship.
Can you actually see that you're replicating your mum and dad's learning? So you've actually both got the same learning.
Yeah.
So communicate. Yep. Sorry. And then the other one will be around priorities.
Priorities. Yeah. Well, prioritize your finances. Don't ignore them.
And what about priorities around people?
Yeah. Prioritize your family.
Yeah. Can you see from a soul point of view that you and your parents have the same purpose?
Yeah.
Now, we want you to have learned from their mistakes, not for you to recreate them, so you have to learn this. So you now have learned, and you've seen that this is what you need to know. Now, it's not going to be hard work because you're just going to then just do this. Not from a place of, I'm afraid that's going to happen, but it's just that this is just what you need to do. So the next thing that comes up is that you had, because they're starting to shift, you had the belief that you weren't good enough and that you weren't secure. Now knowing that as long as you prioritize finances and not ignore it, that you communicate and that you prioritize family and family and friends and people that you love, what is the truth about you now? Around money.
I don't know.
So let's just say, I'm going to take you back. So what you learned from what happened with your parents is that you weren't good enough and not financially secure. Then you've looked at what you need to do, and what you've learned from it is that what we've just talked about. So if we can say that when you prioritize finances and that you communicate with your partner and that you prioritize family and friends, that then eliminates the learning because you've done it and you will be doing it, right? So that then eliminates the belief. So the belief was that you weren't good enough and that you weren't financially secure. But if you then change that, what does that mean about you now? That you are good enough and that you are financially secure?
Yeah.
It's the opposite?
I don't need to be afraid of that anymore.
Okay. So don't need to be afraid. Do you feel like that, yes, that you're good enough to earn money?
Yeah.
Yeah. And do you also feel that if you do these things that you'll be financially secure?
Yeah. I do now.
Okay. So what we've just literally done, and you might feel a little bit dizzy and a little bit lightheaded, but we're actually completely shifting your beliefs, which are driving and we're actually creating new ones. So you can see that you're now starting to believe that, because before you were resisting things, which then keeps them real, what we're actually doing is we're stepping into, I'm not afraid of the fears, and that I know I'll be okay regardless, that I'm actually, fine around money, and that I am good enough, and that you are financially secure. But what you also learned is that in business, so those beliefs are good, and you will actually find that they're not going to pop up again, which is awesome, because they're not good enough, and the insecurity will actually be coming out in other areas, and they're now gone.
Yeah.
Which is great. But I need to go back to the learning. The learning. So isn't it great to get rid of beliefs that quickly? I need to go back to the learning now. So you've learned from seeing your dad having a business that means inconsistent income. Now that feels really true, right? Feels true?
Yeah.
Okay. So if we can do something similar where we look at, the learning and what happened and all that sort of thing, and go into that, you then created the perception that means inconsistent income, but that's as a child.
Yeah.
From what you know about business, and from what you know about now what's important, which is prioritizing finances, communicating with your partner and having that support, and then prioritizing family and friends, what can we turn this belief from inconsistent income into? Can you see you're not there yet? You can't change it around yet. So there's something else driving that, which is lack of control. Mm-hmm. So that is actually the deeper belief around inconsistent income, is that there's lack of control.
Yeah.
Now, how often does that come up in your life?
Yeah, a lot.
Okay. So I'm going to get you to tell me what's the earliest memory you have where you had a lack of control, and just tell me the first thing that pops into your head.
It was probably that, losing the house and having to move, and all of that.
That really did affect you, because I can feel a lot of sadness coming up.
Yeah.
Okay. So if you had to move house and had to, lost a house and had to move and all that sort of thing, what did that mean about you as a person and as a child? So there's nothing you can do?
Yeah.
Yeah. Which is actually then confirming that you don't have control. And that's where it'll keep coming around and around and around. And it won't be just with money. It'll be in every other experience, because when you form a belief based around lack of control, your brain doesn't know, and your subconscious doesn't know what that's about. It'll just make it a new belief about yourself. So this is where we're going to be talking to the child brain that really learned that there was nothing that you could do back then.
Yeah.
Now, we have brought in 3 things that you could do that could help, which is prioritize finances, communicate, and prioritize family and friends. But there is one other thing that you need to learn, bring into this, that will literally shift this lack of control. So I'm going to find out what that is. You've had another experience, so I want you to kind of go back into your life where there was a time where you had control. When would that have been? It might have been a grade, a mark, or something where you knew that if you did this, 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 that you would get that. Has there ever been that experience?
I don't know. I struggle to pull up my childhood memories, to be honest.
That's okay. You don't, because it's more about just because we've already dug into them.
Yeah.
So it's not going to be hard to bring them up. It's just there's a difference between thinking and allowing. So I don't want you to think about it. I'm just going to say something, and you will actually have something pop up into your head. And it doesn't need to actually be childhood. It can be recent, where you did have control over something. So what is something that you do have control over?
I completed my business diploma.
How did you do that?
Studying.
Yep.
Yep.
So when you were studying, did you have a level of trust that you would be able to pass?
Yeah, I knew if I put the time in that I would be able to pass.
The time. So this is where we need to add that.
Yeah.
It's putting the time in. So we need to add that and make it a new belief and experience that when you put time into focusing on business or focusing on whatever, that you will then have the results come up. Do you think your dad put the time in, or do you think he kind of tried to ignore the issue?
He definitely put time into the business, but I think it was into the wrong areas. Yeah.
What are the right areas?
Self-education.
Yep.
Like support and mentoring, I guess.
Okay.
Which is probably self-education as well.
I think support's really big. Support is something that is actually coming up for you. So I think support is really important. And one of the things that he thought he didn't have, which you then thought that was a big part. So I do think that's really important. So you got it there. So, and one other thing that you think he didn't do that he could have done?
Systems and processes.
Yeah, that feels solid, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that feels really solid. Okay. Now, I feel like that is enough for you to move confidently forward with your business, knowing that it will work. But the inconsistency is still there because there is somewhere else in your life that you're inconsistent. So that's where when you have an inconsistency in some other place in your life, it'll actually mirror back in an inconsistent income. So I need to tackle that with you as well. So where in your life do you find yourself maybe kind of beating yourself up for not doing something?
Just maintaining the house, probably.
That's okay. Maintaining house.
Yeah.
What are other things that you promised yourself that you don't do?
Exercise.
Thank you. Okay, I'm going to tell you, if you be a little bit more organized with the house and like do a schedule or something and maybe put the things that you need to do first and then do something else afterwards. But also if you're consistent with your exercise, so if you're consistent with, doing what you want to do around the house and consistent with exercise, then your money will be consistent too.
Okay.
Okay. Take a deep breath and sink that in. So if money is inconsistent, you go, where else am I inconsistent?
Okay.
Okay. Because you know what? You now know in your head, you now know what you need to do to have a successful business.
Yeah.
How does that feel?
Really good.
Really, really good. So I'm then going to go back and say that do you still feel like you've got any fears or blocks around success, business and money?
I think I have something around fearing the responsibility of success. Yeah.
Okay, great. Another layer. So what I will get you to do is I'll get you to listen to this again and write down the things that will create a successful business and just put it up on the wall. And then again, in like consistency needs to be important. But then the responsibility. So of running a business. So how do you feel about being responsible about running a business?
I feel I want to have that, but then there's that part of me that says, can I handle that?
How does it feel?
Scary.
It actually doesn't actually feel like fun either.
No.
Who told you had to be responsible?
Everyone.
Can you see that it's everyone else's belief and not your own?
Yeah.
Do you know that you can have a successful business and actually have fun? How does that feel?
That'd be good.
Well, that's your belief.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying to you is that the belief that you have to be responsible when you have a business is not yours.
Mm-hmm.
So whenever you think, oh, I need to be responsible, just go, hang on a sec, that's not even mine. You'll know when you're thinking that because you'll start to feel bad. Okay. So you'll know when you've gone out of alignment. So for you, the more fun, like I know this because this is how I run my business, for you, the more fun you have, the more successful you'll be. The more responsible you'll try and be, the more unsuccessful you'll be. Okay? It's just you've learnt that from other people.
Yeah.
So always go with your gut and know that when you're not feeling good, it's because you've taken on other people's beliefs and that you're not in alignment with your own. So then you just go, okay. And for you, fun is in alignment with what and who you are.
Yeah.
So always do things for fun. Whatever you do, make sure it's fun. If it's not fun, don't do it. And you'll be successful. So responsibility is other people's beliefs, not yours.
Yeah.
How's that feel?
Good.
Now you just have to like live it.
Yeah.
Listen to the video again. What I'll also get you to do is I'll get you to write all of this down, but changing such big beliefs takes about 24 to 48 hours for the energy just to kind of keep going. So you might feel lightheaded every now and then. You might feel a rush of energy, move or whatever. It's just all these old beliefs going. All you need to do is just be completely focused on the present. And then focus on them having fun, and then focus on really being the observer of what's going on and what comes up for you, and any more triggers that come up. And you can keep using this process. So I'm going to send you through this process that you can use and that you can actually start to adopt this for other triggers that come up as well, okay?
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
So how does that all feel? Good?
Yeah, really good. I'm sweating.
That's okay, and it's just energy. It's just energy moving. Be okay with it. You'll get lightheaded. You'll feel dizzy. You will sweat, things like that. It's just the old crap going. It's a good thing. So I'll send all this through to you, and message me if you have any other questions. Okay.
Awesome. Thank you.
My pleasure. Take care, darling. See ya.
Bye.
Bye.